It is really impressive to think only of the mysterious and enigmatic places that exist on Earth, those that to date the connoisseurs and experts have not been able to give a convincing explanation about the origin and truth of what happened. In the summer of 2003, in an unexplored area of the Bucegi Mountains, a section of the SRI, the so-called Zero Equipment Department, made a very significant discovery that could completely change the destiny of mankind. The monumental pressure exerted by the United States on the government of Romania, so that this discovery was not made known to the world, led to a temporary agreement between the two countries and an unusual scientific and military collaboration. The situation was further complicated by the brutal interference of the Order of the Illuminati, who tried to take control of both the place of discovery and the Romanian-American expedition. The expert Cesar Brad, who devoted years of research to strange phenomena, Director of Strategic Operations of utmost importance of the Romanian state, is the hero of the incredible events that occurred in the Bucegi Mountains, as well as two memorable encounters with a high representative of the Illuminati and member of the Bilderberg Group. A member of the Bilderberg Group in Romania in May 2003, a prominent character visited Caesar for a very special affair. The request for the meeting came through the SRI, the Intelligence Service of Romania, as a result of intervention by the Romanian government. The character was foreign, but spoke very well Romanian and knew Romania very well. The SRI only knew that it was a member of a very important Masonic lodge of Bucegi in Italy, that counts on high nobility or a strong financial influence in Romania. His political influence was also very high, since he managed to penetrate the protective wall of SRI agents and reach Department Zero. Caesar noticed a heavy pressure and heaviness around that person. She was surrounded by a cloud of dense and unpleasant radiation that hid her true intentions. For this meeting, Ceci prepared herself carefully. She isolated herself in a room and dropped into a state of deep meditation, which would allow her to know more about that person. A helicopter brought this tall, arrogant man, wrapped in a black suit. He wore a staff with an ivory handle and gold inlays. His expression was hard and his green eyes radiated an unusual coldness, which had a strange effect. He introduced himself as Mr. Massini. He was very sure of himself and gave the impression of being accustomed to giving orders. He led one of the most venerable and important Masonic lodges in Europe, one of the most influential Masonic organizations in the world, the Bilderberg Group. Massini went straight into matter, saying that people were of two types, those who can be manipulated and directed, most, and the others, who possess certain virtues and a strong personality. He affirmed that his group was part of the Masonic order more important of all, and that this one was very interested in the result of the encounter between both. Caesar replied that he knew some aspects of Franco-Masonry. Mr. Massini went on to say that the Bilderberg Group was not properly a lodge, but much more. He said that the lodges were simple facades and that the royal power was at the top of a hierarchy of 33 levels. Massini invited Caesar to join the group, making him understand that it would bring him great advantages. Massini manifested great power and an unusual psychic force for his age. Unfortunately for him, his power was centered on a great arrogance, an enormous ego, and a feeling of superiority towards the others. Massini said he had requested the meeting, due to Caesar's power and relations, that the group appreciated his powers. The Pentagon uses satellites to spy. A Pentagon satellite for geodetic espionage, based on bionic technology, discovered in 2002 a gap in a specific area of the Bucegi Mountains. This empty space inside the mountain could not be identified from the outside. It began directly inside the mountain, some distance from the slope, and had the shape of a tunnel well made, with a perfectly marked path. The satellite scan the mountain showed two large energy barriers, two separation structures, formed of artificial energy. The second was enormous, like a vault or a hemisphere located at the end of the tunnel near the center of the mountain. Massini realized that there was something of extreme importance and that he was very well protected. The entire tunnel and vault were sutured in the same plane, parallel to the ground, and the separation structure was vertical and hemispherical, following the shape of the rock from the top of the mountains, called Babel. In fact, the inclination of the vertical structure ended about 40 meters between the Babel Rock and the Sphinx Rock of the Bucegi Mountains, Sphinxal-din Bucegi. A similar structure in Iraq. The Pentagon team saw that the hemispheric energy barrier had the same vibratory frequency and the same shape as another very secret underground structure it had previously discovered near Baghdad in Iraq. Shortly after this discovery, the War of Iraq exploded, and a few months later the Americans had access to the greater secret of the zone, on which the Iraqis knew nothing. Massini said that what was in there had to do with the mysterious past of Earth and the history of the organization to which he belonged. When the Pentagon's investigation noticed the similarity of the underground structure near Baghdad and that of Bucegi, Massini, and the Masonic lodge to which it belonged, they were suddenly filled with anxiety. They were on the verge of a fit of nerves, knowing that this structure, much larger and more complex than that of Iraq, was in Runamo territory. Alexander, it seems that Romania has an important mission to fulfill in the coming years, and reptilians also have this information. Above the Bucegi Mountains is also an energy pyramid. Its shadow can be seen twice a year, which has a protective function and is safe from the knowledge of truth, which will soon be revealed to the whole world when the time comes. Massini provided the right plan to reach the tunnel, as Pentagon experts had calculated. The entrance was possible to about 60 or 70 meters away from the first energy barrier at the side of the mountain. Massini promised ultra-sophisticated American military technology to drill the first energy barrier. It was a very powerful machine that pierced rocks at high speed with a strong plasma jet and a rotating magnetic field. Massini demanded absolute discretion on the subject. The discoveries of 2003, in the Bucegi Mountains. At first, the drilling machine showed a strange deviation of the magnetic field, but later corrected its trajectory. The entrance looked like a subway station, with polished walls, and reached the enigmatic tunnel covered by the satellite. At the end of the tunnel, there was a huge stone door that would move sliding to the left. Before entering the door, however, a large energy barrier had to be crossed. 3 people from the first intervention team were very close to the invisible barrier, touched by imprudence, and died of cardiac arrest instantly. Any object, stone, plastic, metal, or wood, that touched him, immediately became fine powder. 2 Pentagon generals and the United States presidential advisor were also present. Touching the triangle with the palm of the center of the square and polished rock, Caesar started the great stone door that silently slid into the wall. This single gesture disconnected the energy barrier and opened the stone door. Now the gallery could be seen in all its splendor. Although there was no light source, the grand gallery was illuminated. After disconnecting the energy barrier, however, the large hemispherical shield on the opposite side of the camera suddenly increased its vibration and began to emit higher radiation. Looking closely at the wall inside the great gallery, one could see that although it seemed synthetic, something organic was also part of it. It had the color of oil, but its reflections were green and even blue. The material on the wall was rugged to the touch, and it could not be scratched or bent, resisting any attempt to break, puncture, or cut. Flames of fire self-absorbed strangely. In fact, the fire would not start in this material. The Americans recognized that the material was a mixture of organic and inorganic matter. At about 85 meters, the gallery suddenly turned to the right at a closed angle. In the distance there was a blue light that shone like a star. This blue light was only the reflection of the protective shield of energy. Situation of the energy protector of the Bucegi Mountains. In the Iraqi subway, the United States National Security Advisor was told that the Iraqi energy shield, Baghdad, had been activated at once, and vibrated at a high frequency. In front of the shield appeared a hologram of the Earth, which progressively drew the European continent, then headed southeast, the Bucegi Mountains of Romania, and finally showed the location of the gallery. It was obvious that the 2 hemispherical shields of energy were directly connected. Unfortunately, the United States presidency was warned of what was happening, and contacted the Romanian diplomacy through the intelligence service. In just 20 minutes, the entire operation was exposed. Mr. Massini's plan had gone into the water. At first, they wanted to have control of the operation, but the Romanian politicians who had the right to be aware of the matter, were frightened and did not know to face the events. Diplomatic tension rose, and more so, when Washington demanded urgently to communicate with the Pentagon generals who were on the scene of the operation. Urgent meeting of the Supreme Council for Defense. The urgent meeting of the Supreme Council for Defense, CSAT, generated a wave of support for the Zero Department. Most of those present at the meeting were shocked by the news they had just received. The CSAT decided to continue the investigation and to make the inventory of everything found in the Great Gallery, but under the supervision of the Department Zero. From Bucharest came a number of orders that contradicted, some very forceful, some more elusive, but all of them making the great tension in the background. The members of the CSAT were permanently reunited, in contact with those in the Bucegi Mountains. After discussing the subject from all possible angles, they decided to make the discovery public. The state of Romania was going to make a formal statement to the whole world, but some members of the CSAT strongly opposed it. From stories about the ancient presence of giants living among their structures, even legends that in that place hide the secrets of the origin of humanity and even the secret of immortality. All this makes us think of a mythical city, to which we would arrive through a portal. However this place exists, is in the Bucegi Mountains in Romania. Much of the knowledge that they have imposed on us could be reflected as a farce after possessing the knowledge that is said to have been found in the Bucegi Mountains.